So, okay, we got up to this this paragraph over here. Shmirat Divrei Torah Rasa. So we said that. Let's read again. Machon Shalos Rabbi Lezer, a certain noble woman, asked Rabbi Lezer, "Nema achas, but why is there one sin with the ego? They made some shalosh mitzvahs. There were three types of deaths which took place, either by sword, by plague, or by drinking the water. So he didn't want to sponsor it. Say, women only have wisdom when it comes to weaving, not to Torah. The Talmud says women were wise. They wove the curtains for the Mishkan. So Rabbi Lezer's son said to him, because you didn't want to tell her something in the Torah, you want to give an explanation. He used to get 300 large measures of maisa from her every year because she's a very rich woman. And now she doesn't give it to us anymore. So Amalei said, Rabbi Lezer said to her, he suffered the words of Torah should be burned. By Muslim noshim rather than given to women. Abitu Acharif, this sharp statement, he sorrowful by Muslim, they should be burned and not given. That we're not concerned about the woman. But the words of Torah themselves. Women are partners in the giving of the Torah. The words of Torah will be damaged, which is a very stark and tough thing to say. There's a little different, slightly different version of this in the Bavli. Yuma Samach Vavam and base. So Rabbi Lezer, they asked Rabbi Lezer, so Rabbi Lezer, asked Rabbi Lezer, Lo mivnei lo ifligon bevarim. It's not, Rabbi Lezer will not answer. Not because she's Chamik was trying to get out of giving an answer. There's Shalom, my davar shlo shaman Rabo Rola. He didn't want to say the answer because he never said something which he didn't hear from a Rebbe of his. And never the Rebbe to the answer to this question. So wise woman asked him why they not all die with the same death. Unless he said women only have wisdom in their weaving. Says all wise women, they wove. Okay, it's slightly different, but not different enough to not be disturbing. I heard from a wise person. Perhaps the previous case where Rebbe Lezer didn't give an answer because he didn't hear from his Rebbe. In this case, where he didn't give an answer because he didn't want to answer a woman, it's not just a coincidence that they're together, or just because in both cases Rebbe Lezer didn't give an answer. Says that this story, also like the previous one, Masoris is linked with the precision of the transmission of Torah, shall I say, to Rabbi Lezer, which Rabbi Lezer demanded. So therefore refused to give Torah to a woman. Because she won't be precise in giving over the words of Torah. The words of Torah will be damaged. If the tradition of the transmission of Torah goes to women. Because women are not constructed to understand and become intelligent in the Chachma of Torah. Okay, that shouldn't make us feel any happier, so to speak. It certainly sounds like women don't have the intellectual capacity to learn Torah, or to, at least, the very least, to transmit Torah properly and accurately from one person to another person. So we have to see how we deal with these cases. Base. The manners in which it is permitted and appropriate for women to learn Torah. There's a difference opinion, and difference opinion of how to paskin, how to rule in this machlokas. The prohibition of teaching women Torah, not everybody agrees. The Das Ben Azai, the Mishnah Saito Sham, the Ben Azai, who's one of the Tanoim, says in the Mishnah there, a person has to teach his daughter Torah, but it's a strange reason. To teach that, that this a woman should know, if she's a sota chas v'shalom and she has to drink the bitter water, that if she survives it must be because she had some special merit which allowed her to survive, even though she actually was a tmeah. She actually committed a sin. So Ben Azai says she has to learn because otherwise she wouldn't know this. So therefore, in order that if such a case arises, that she has to drink the bitter waters, that she should know that, okay, the reason I didn't die, even though I committed a sin, is because I had some merit. You have to teach Torah so she knows that. Again, very strange proof, but Ben Azai says, on that basis, that a woman has to learn Torah. So she has to know this as well, which is not explicit in the Torah Shabbat, not explicit in the Chumash. Atosh Ben Azai Mechayev Lamed is a bas, and Torah Ben Azai requires us to teach a daughter. Plus, it's Torah Bapeh, includes Torah Bapeh. In other words, what's not been explicitly in the Chumash, only if she knows that, Teda, she'll know, she's that the merit is what protects her from dying a quick and painful death. Machlokas zu lochra pechas. This machlokas, whether you're supposed to teach your daughter Torah or not, has not had one universal psak. Ushtikas hagonim, and the silence of the gonim who normally paskin on a Gemara. Kabal lochas gedolos, shultas ravachai barit. These are great authorities, either gonim or rishonim. Ameresh lo pasku krabi lezer. It teaches us they did not rule like Rabbi Lezer that you're not supposed to teach your daughter Torah because they didn't bring it down. Shamuti, and the reason why they didn't pass him is because he was a Shamuti. There are two understands what it means he's Shamuti. Either is from the school of Beis Shammai, and we always pass with Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. And although there's no machlokas Beis Hillel Beis Shammai here, whether we should teach your daughter Torah or not, we assume Rabbi Lezer Shita comes from the fact he was from Beis Shammai, and therefore we don't pass like him. Or Shamuti means at one point in his life, because he rebelled against the other rabbis, he was put in Cheren. He was excommunicated, which is what Shamta means. He was saying everybody was told they can't have what to do with him when it came coming to learning Torah. So therefore, we don't pass him like him. There's Divrei Ben Azai, the words Ben Azai, Shem Tishta Teda, they explained that Kipshutam, literally, they explain literally not that that's a reason why she should learn Torah, but she should learn specifically that Torah. She should learn that women can't survive drinking waters of sota because if they have a schus. If that's the case, if that's the only Torah you're supposed to teach them, so then they didn't bring down this obligation. This obligation will only apply at the time when we have a base of mikdash and we give the sota water to drink. We're not during our day and age because we don't have that anymore. One of the Rishonim writes this. He says, he writes as follows: even though a woman's not required to learn Torah, if you want to teach her, or just be adult, you're allowed to teach her. Like he explained in another book that he wrote, So the Ri'ad, who's a Rishon, says you're not obligated to teach a woman Torah. But if you want to teach a woman Torah, you're allowed to. Bismachu Mashkina says Sotos, and at the time that they gave Sotos the water to drink in the Beis Hamikdash, Torah, at that time people were required to teach the Torah's Torah. At least this point, that if she drinks the sota water and she's saved, even though she sinned, she should know that she has some merit, some mitzvah she did, which is keeping her alive. Adkan. That's the end of that quote from the Riyaz. So here, the way he's learning it is, okay, at the time the Beis Hamikdash existed, and they were still giving sotas water to drink, and they might die. If they should know that if they didn't die, it was because they had some merit which kept them alive. So you have to teach your daughter that. The rest of Torah is not forbidden to teach. It's not it's optional. It's not mandatory. It's also what the Birkei Yosef says. It's the Chidah, was a great Rav in the 18th century, the 1700s. The Sugya Shmaitzak Ben Azai, that the assumption of the discussion is like Ben Azai, that you have to teach your daughter Torah. Because after they bring down Rabbi Elazar's reason they're not allowed to teach the Torah to women, they ask more of Rabbanan. Klamar Ech Rabbani, first the Pasuk, how the Rabbanan explain the Pasuk which Rabbi Lezer used to say that women should only be taught weaving, because that's the whole Chachma. So the point is that it doesn't ask what does Ben Azai do with that Pasuk about weaving. Ask what Rabbanan do with the opinion about weaving. And it says Rabbanan, that means that they're saying the rest of the rabbis agreed with Ben Azai. It wasn't just Ben Azai's opinion himself, but everybody else agreed with Ben Azai. So the opinion of Ben Azai is called the opinion of the rabbis, the majority of the rabbis. Rabbi Lezer Milton, Rabbi Lezer says now to teach women Torah, he's a minority opinion. The majority opinion holds you can. Harishon Shapasuk Rabbi Lezer, so who passes like Rabbi Elazar? That you're not allowed to teach women Torah. Or Rambam. The Perek Al Michas Talmud Torah Lochi Gimel. He says can't teach women Torah. Because of the Torah Shulchan Aruch, you're dead in relation above, see above, and so to the Torah Shulchan Aruch. Because same kosher poskim, and in their footsteps, everybody else paskin, they're not supposed to teach Torah to women. The Choifen, in any event, Gam das Rambam, even according to Rambam, Eino Dover Muskam. It's not that everybody agrees. Obviously, Rabbanan, the Vizgriya Ben Eliezer, El Achroi Ben Ashitas, but that's he determined between the two opinions, like the opinion that says not to teach women Torah. Okay, so what do they do with time Chazal? In fact, halacha ma'isa d'ibn Chazal. There's a difference between halacha, what we rule to be the theoretical law, and ma'isa, what we actually do. So what happened at the time of Chazal? Torah. If there are no women at the time of Chachamim who knew Torah, Ben Azai would not have come out against the tradition Rabbi Lezer had not to teach women Torah. It says the Torah and say a person has to teach his daughter Torah. And so to the opposite. If all the sages and Amisor would teach their daughters Torah, let's not say that it's like we taught her romantic novels. Therefore, we have to assume can be cream like any other similar circumstance. There wasn't some sharp and uniform reality, which is the time of Chazal. There's some women in the Torah, but some not. Chachamim didn't determine absolute halacha, which makes a lot of sense, right? If since there is a difference of opinion, it must have been at the time of Chazal there was a difference in practice, right? Some people followed Rabbi Lezer and didn't teach women Torah, and some people followed Ben Azai and did teach women Torah. And that's why there's a machlokas. So that explains why we find several halachos about women who know Torah, such as it says a man who's not married should not teach young children, and a woman should not teach young children. So it sounds like they have the knowledge, but they're not supposed to teach young children. And the reason for not teaching them is because the man who's not married, because the women come with their children to school, nothing else to parent-teacher conferences, and the woman should not come because if they're not married, because the husbands or the fathers of the children come to school. So therefore, there's a little bit of a danger there in terms of a mingling of the genders. Also, we learn somebody who's forbidden to provide his friend with any benefit. If I take a vow, an oath, I say, you are forbidden to provide me with any benefit. Or I take the oath and I say, I'm forbidden to provide you with any benefit. So it says there are a whole bunch of things I can't do for you because I'm forbidden to provide you with benefit. But he can teach I can teach your sons and daughters chumash. So we see that women are supposed to learn chumash. We'll also learn hakol l'minyan shiva afil katan afil isha. So this is a statement which we don't follow nowadays, but it says women can get an aliyah. Theoretically, women can get an aliyah in shul. If they get an aliyah in shul, obviously it means that they have to learn some Torah, because back in the days when people got an aliyah, they used to actually read the Torah in public. They didn't have a specific designated person to read, where everybody else just made brachas. Whoever made the bracha also read. So whenever you see women get an aliyah, must be they're allowed to learn Torah, because otherwise they couldn't read the Torah when they get the aliyah, right? So lachain, sorry, and also so if she it says about a sota, a woman who committed the sin, right, and drank the waters, she can still survive if she has a schus, she has a merit. This would leave her alive, at least for a while. So Gemara has schus to mai. What kind of schus might she have? Elaim is the schus to Torah. If we're talking about the schus she has that she learned Torah, that can't be the schus because it's not so big for her. Because she's not commanded to learn Torah. So if you're not commanded to do something, it doesn't give you such a big schus. So if she has a schus that's keeping her alive, it must be something else. But from this, we see that women will learn Torah. Or it says that that's not a big enough schus that they should remain alive if they're sotas. There has to be some other schus. You see that women are allowed to learn Torah, right? Even though she's not commanded to learn Torah, she's allowed to. Halacha zubali de maisa, and this halacha came into actual practice mana tanoim in the time tanoim by the famous Eitzel Bruria, Mitos Rabbi Chanina ben Tradion, the Isha Rabbi Meir. We know Bruria was the daughter of the Tana Rabbi Chanina ben Tradion and the wife of Rabbi Meir. She learned a lot of Torah and even taught Torah. Leitos after Kalim Perak Babakama Perak Dalach. That's Motia Perak Balach Gimel Babu Psachim Sabes Sabes. Emin the Gimel Dal. Volcano Volcano Meshach story Yudis. She's quoted in all these places as having taught Torah. Torah Shmapeh, Gemara. And this happens many times during Jewish history. So we see that there were women, even if I'm Chazal, that learned Torah, despite what Rabbi Eliezer said. Me'idach, on the other hand, for Mochiach Yerushalmi Sota Sham, the Yerushalmi in Sota already proved Shabbat ben Azariah Cholaka ben Azai. Shabbat ben Azariah was not a Reed ben Azai. And those women should not be learning Torah. We mash Darash, and we know this from his drasha. It says every 7 years after Shemitah and Sukkot, you make a big gathering in the Beis Hamikdash. It's called Hakel. And when they make the Hakel, the men should come, the women should come, and the children come. The Gemara says, "Hanoshim boim limod, v'hanoshim boim limod, v'hanoshim both lishma." Men come to learn, but women come just to listen. So from this we can learn, that the average woman did not know how to learn. She didn't come to learn, she just came to listen. So too it says the same name of Rab. When we say in the first bracha and benching, in the second bracha, no Hashem Elokeinu, Asher Chaim Seder Eretz Chem the Torah v'Chova, Asher Tzon Hashem Elokeinu Eretz Yisrael Tzon Beis Avadim, V'Abrischa Shechasanta B'Yisraelenu, V'Atoras Cheshlomatanu, etc. And also we mention Malchus Beis David Mishichecha. So we mentioned the bris, we mentioned Torah, I mentioned the kingship of Hashem. If you didn't say these things, according to Rav, Yotza, you will still fulfill the obligation of benching. Bris, the fish ena benoshim. If you didn't say bris, the mission bris milah, you're Yotzi because women don't get a bris milah. Torah Malchus, and if you don't mention Torah and the kingship of David Melch, you would say Kishena Lo B'Nashim La'Avodim. Both women and slaves, even male slaves, are not required to learn Torah, and they can't become kings. Yodua Kamokein, we also know Divrei Gemara. Brachas Yudzayim Av HaMachapis Chus Torah L'Nashim. And the Gemara there asks, it says there that in order to get to Olam Haba, you have to have the merit of Torah. You have to have the special merit which comes from Torah, not just the merit which comes from mitzvah. So Gemara asks, Amalei Rabbi Chia Nashim B'Maizachion. Women, how do they get the special merit of Torah? They don't learn. How do you get special merit? Amalei, so Rabbi Chia said, Ba'akrayu B'nai B'Knishta, by bringing their children to shul to listen to Kriyas Torah, and bringing them to Mishnayos in school, and not waiting for their husbands until they come home from the base medrash. So we see that the women get their Torah merit not by necessarily by learning. They get in other ways by helping their children and their husbands. So we see that most women evidently did not learn Torah, and therefore they need other ways of getting the special exclusive Torah. Okay, so that again, we find time of Chazal differences of different things. So evidently, some women did learn Torah, and a lot of women did not learn Torah. So it seems that they didn't have to learn Torah, and only a minority of women learned Torah, but some women did. So we can't know anything definite from looking at what happened in time of Chazal. But there's another issue here. Till now, we talk about teaching women Torah. But what about women learns on her own? Isha lomedes la'atzma b'dasa Rambam. The woman learns her own according to Rambam. Isha shalom the Torah yesh l'schar. The Rambam says a woman who learns Torah has reward. Alpi sheyesh l'schar, even though she has reward, tzivu chomish sholilamein adam as bito Torah. The Chachamim said a father should not teach his daughter Torah. They should rove nush because most women ain't that mechubanos. They don't have proper intellect. Islam to learn. They take the Torah, make them frivolous and inappropriate. The fian use them because they are very poor in their intellect. But the Rambam says a fascinating thing. He says here, a woman wants to learn it by her own, on her own, she gets rewarded for that. A father shouldn't teach his daughter Torah. Two separate things. A woman wants to learn on her own. Obviously, she's serious about it, so she can learn. She should learn. A woman who's not going to learn on her own, she's not serious about it, her father shouldn't teach his Torah because she might be one of the women who's going to not use Torah properly, not understand it properly, and therefore she shouldn't be taught. We can assume Adam Bito. Bito doesn't just mean a father teaches daughter. And they should just because that was a normal case. But any woman should not be taught Torah by any man. So they all have the same reason. Because they misuse Torah and they make it frivolous and inappropriate. On the other hand, it's clear. There's no prohibition on a woman to learn Torah on her own. Any woman or any girl or woman, knows her soul, that she's able to learn. There's nothing holding her back from learning on her own. When they said Isha Shalom, the Torah yesh l'schar, woman learns Torah gets rewarded for it. And perhaps even a man can discuss Torah with her. We find that by Bruya, there was a question from when something becomes Torah. They asked the son of Rabbi Shechina ben Trajan. He said, for once they take it to a different place. Well, actually, it's a person when he comes to her. He says, whenever he's moving on space, the man once they take off his garment, whatever the case is there over there. But the bottom line is, somebody talked to Bruya and asked her what her opinion was in a matter of halacha. The kachos in our poskim halacha l'maisa, and so to write the poskim in practice, what to do. Neshurov, this is from the Prisha, one of the commentators in there. I mean, Neshurov nashu ein daita mechubanis. Most women don't have the intellect to learn. Aval im lomda la'atzo, she learns on her own. Anu ro'im, we see she's not from the majority. That's why it says she gets reward. Rotzamar means to say im lomda Torah amachon, she learns Torah properly. She doesn't use Torah inappropriately. Then she's good. Aval of. But a man, as a father, is not allowed to teach her directly. The deal because maybe she's going to use the word of Torah in a frivolous, romantic way. Because you don't know what's in your daughter's house. So the priest is going a step further. He's saying that if you see a girl learning on her own, she's from the majority. She can say she's not from the majority of girls who are not supposed to learn. There's a majority of girls who can learn. A girl who hasn't yet gotten to that stage of leaving the majority of girls, who still we don't know about her, what her status is. So her father shouldn't teach her Torah because maybe she's one of the girls who's not suited to learn Torah. Okay. So in other words, we can only tell if a woman's going to misuse the words of Torah only after she learned Torah. And also, so she can't teach her to begin with. Shema Me'arovi, because maybe she's the majority. Lisa Bar, according to the Achar Shalom the Latzma, once she started learning on his own, there's no thing which prevents us from having deep conversation with her, and discuss Torah in depth with her. Okay, and that actually one of the Rishonim, not one of the major Rishonim, it's one of the obscure Rishonim, is not well known. The Arkavalti, he writes as follows. If your soul, talking to a woman, girl or woman, I don't know which one. He says, if your soul desires the pure Torah, al tanichi vayatzrech geshem. Don't stop, and don't get stopped by any material, any gashmius thing. The kushas ma'amara saying on that, which you might have difficult. What the rabbi said, kolam elame bita Torah kilam lam the tiflus. Anybody teaches his daughter Torah, it's as if he's teaching her romantic novels or whatever. There's no question. That we can draw a distinction. It's only talking about when a father teaches her when she's very young, before we know anything about her. In her deeds, it's not clear if she is pure and straight in what she's doing. The Vad, I certainly can't give in such a case, we have to be concerned. So most women are lighthearted and can't learn. They waste their time in romances. And most of them also don't have the patience to sit and learn. But women are shown whose heart has volunteered or son of them the to come close to this work of learning Torah. And the kingdom of the work of Hashem, since they chose to do this good, because it's good, and they can certainly go up Hashem in the fountain of God. And they will be able to reside in Hashem's holy place. In the shame of facing because they're amazing women. And it's the sages of their generation are required. The Hadron to give them respect, the Adron to strengthen them, the Sadron to arrange a curriculum for them, the Chazik and constantly support them, Lameitz to give courage to their limbs, Bakor Masanehem to wrap their hips, and gird their loins. So this is Akavalti is saying, yeah, we still don't know when a girl's very young whether she is intellectual or not. And then at that point to give her Torah is dangerous. Because you don't know what she's going to do with it. But once a girl grows up a little bit and you can see that she's serious about her learning, on the contrary, it's a great mitzvah to help that girl learn. Because she has great potential and she'll grow from it. Yeshet Sayin, we should also note, these Batus Agavis, that a statement made the Rambam just in passing, which seems to be a statement he made indirectly. Hamalame, which teaches us, the statement teaches us, they're learning Torah, even Torah Shabbat, even Gemara. It's just, it can be just as good for women like men. This way writes in the Torah. Even though these things which we're discussing, we have mitzvahs, which are the explanation of mitzvahs, why we have mitzvahs, what the purpose of mitzvahs are. Is davar katan kroso chachamim? Chachamim call it a small thing. Chachamim said davar gadol ma'aser merkava. What's a big thing? Ma'aser merkava means how Hashem relates to the world. The davar katan, a small thing, is Abayit Rava, is the discussions of Abayit and Rava and the Gemara. Abi ken women lakdimon. Nevertheless, the small, so to speak, thing, which is learning Gemara, you're supposed to learn first before you learn the much more obscure, secret, and difficult parts of the Torah. After you do a call, and everybody can know this Gemara. God of a katan, adults and children, ish v'isha, man and woman, baal lev rachav, somebody who has a broad heart, in other words, they are patient and understanding, and baal lev katzor, somebody who has a narrow heart, in other words, even somebody who lacks patience and understanding. So even the Rambam himself, who's against women learning Torah, it seems that that's not necessarily all women and all things. Because he says the basic Torah, even women can master. It doesn't say it's also for them to do. It says they also can master that Torah. Okay, so so it's clear from the Rambam that somehow or another, this woman is going to learn. Maybe you can't teach her, but she can certainly learn. That's what it says, right? Right? Both adults and children, Ish Isha, men and women, right? So it seems quite clear that there is a possibility of women learning Torah, even Gemara. Okay, so the next part of this I'm going to skip because it's about avodim and about slaves and whether slaves can learn or not learn. And it goes into a little bit of a length here. And but we're going to go over here next week, Hashem, to things which a person should and should not learn, okay, in general, okay? So right now, what we've seen is that women certainly can learn Torah on their own. No question about it. There's a question whether to teach women Torah at a young age until you know if they're intellectual or not intellectual. But what if they're proven to be intellectual? So then you can teach them anything. Again, assuming that they're not going to use the Torah inappropriately, so you can teach a woman any Torah which they would not want to learn. Okay, but like I said, we're going to see certain things where we're limited from learning Torah. Even men are limited from learning Torah, but we haven't gotten to that yet. Okay, now the question is then, obviously, which we're going to also go into, though we have less than a minute left, so we're not going to do, is why today we teach girls Torah from a very young age, same age as boys.